Hare Krishna. Thank you for the kirtan. Welcome to all of you to our Sunday festival, Sunday program. Versteht jemand kein Englisch? Bitte hebe die Hand. Everyone understands English? Very good. Ruski? Only Ruski? 2 translation. So you can tell them that you will bring the... So now we're gonna have a lecture, and we would like to invite His Grace Caitanya Nitai Prabhu to take a seat on the Vyasa-san. So let us welcome him appropriately. Hari Bol! Is anyone here for the first time? Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Marcel. Marcel is my name. Marcel.
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 Ja.
Marcel. Gekommen mit deinem Freund. Ja.
Mit Akku.
Ja. Welcome. Yes. I will love to mention that. It's okay if I don't read. Just speak. Yeah. Usually we do it. No, you can also sing if you like. So, wow, somebody is enthusiastic today. So, please, Caitanya Nitai Prabhu, you have to sit now, so I can introduce you to the audience. So, Caitanya Nitai Prabhu, he just came to Zurich with his wife Bhakti Nana from Croatia. They came, and they are spending some time here in Zurich temple. He's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. And he has been spending quite some time in India in different ashrams. And so we thought it would be nice if all of you get to know him today. So we left the topic up to him, and he decided to speak on self-development. Certainly relevant for all of us. So now we're going to chant Jai Radha Madhava. Does anyone need the song text? Yeah? So she will bring. Hare Krishna. Krishna, maybe you can come a little closer. There's a lot of space here. Huh? Yeah. If you're outside, please come in.
Should I put it on? Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to everybody. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You are so close to me. It's good. Welcome to the Sunday Feast in ISKCON Zurich. Yes, Prabhu introduced me a little bit. My name is Caitanya Nitai Dasa, and I'm just recently came here, so most of you I see for the first time. So that's why I wanted to give a lecture, to give a presentation more in an informal way, so we could get to know each other, and so we could maybe share some experiences in Krishna consciousness, in self-development, as I titled it, to sound modern. But actually, of course, we are talking about spiritual life, and as presented in mainly in Bhagavad Gita. I wanted to speak about Bhagavad Gita. It is a book. Is there on the shelf. Maybe I could have it. I wanted to show it to you because although a book can seem dry, this book is special, and it played a special part in my life, and I wanted to share the impact of this particular book in my life. I will not read too much from it, because, as I said, I wanted to be informal, and I wanted you also to maybe I wanted to just show the book so you can see it's actually. I also wanted maybe through the lecture, if you're inspired, to think about some question, and because I am from a different part of the world, it's just 2 countries to the east, but it is at least 3 life standards away, or in so many ways it can be looked as a different place. And yeah, Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is the book that I wanted to center my lecture around, and the impact it can have on everybody's life. And like anything, it should be read and practiced to have an impact. And that is of course my recommendation. In this day and age, it has gone out of fashion to read, even to learn. If it's learning something outside of your job. If on your job somebody asks you to learn something because the new program came out or the new version of some software is there, you will not think twice about reading it. It's, of course, you're going to read it. It's for your money, but for your sustenance. But if you have problems in your personal life, in your marriage, in your to find your peace, to develop in any other sphere of your life, rarely people ask somebody. Rarely people take shelter of somebody. Rarely people have a guide in their life. Not like a formal guide that you always go to, but you can see that in your work, and by that you can see what is important for you. You have no problem asking somebody for an advice. But if you have emotional problems, if you have marriage problems, if you have problems with finding the meaning of life, then it's a little bit difficult. People feel ashamed. People feel that difficult to ask these things. And in my personal life, I feel got to see the importance of it, because the place I live, the place I come from, is neither down nor too much up in this world. It's just somewhere in the middle. So there is not so much suffering like in some African countries or somewhere else. And it's not a very opulent life like in some other places. But the life is just in the middle. And so I feel I got the chance to actually see life, not just because, you know, when you're suffering too much, when you have trouble, either medical or you don't have money, you're always struggling. You don't have time to stop and see, actually, where is my life going? Am I happy? Am I doing what I want? Could I do something better? Is there something better? You don't have time for that. Also, when you are if you are very influential, usually it's by having money, then also you don't have time for that, because there is too less time for enjoyment. How can you spare time to reconsider your life? So usually, and Krishna in Bhagavad Gita explains, most of the people come out of being pressured in some way, in some or other way, to actually ask that question: can I live my life better? Can I improve my life in some way? For me, it took few hits from, we call it material nature, like everything that's around us. It's actually personal, and sometimes you lose a job and it hurts, or you lose a partner and it hurts, but then you bounce back and you continue with your life as it is. And for me, it happened that because sometimes, you can see somebody dressed in white, and nobody is so used to people being dressed in white. For example, I remember when I came to church, those people are completely black. Although we are both into developing love of God, but they are completely black, we are completely white. It's strange. But when you come to the church and you see like a priest, you feel somewhat of a distance from him. You feel he's some other kind of person. His life was completely different. He's just a pure soul, and I cannot relate to him. But it's not like that. It's definitely not like that. And also in my case, was not like that, because in my life, mostly what I was into is motorcycles, and I was driving them for about 15 years, all different kinds of motorcycles, every day bigger and bigger. Because in my understanding was that what are you going to do? Life is so boring. You're going to just wake up in the morning, work, and then eat that money, and then pass it down into the river or somewhere else. So I was thinking, it's so boring. So what can I do? Whatever I can do, I will do it. That was my idea, and by doing like that, I of course had some enjoyment, but with this kind of enjoyment, a lot of trouble also comes. But even when trouble came, when we had, as very young children, problems with the police, we were just, pretending to be humble while the police was there, and then when they were gone, we were just thinking, okay, what next we can do? And this is one thing that you can see, that it's very difficult to stop yourself. It's very difficult. You have some impetus, some drive towards some direction, but like people call it habits. But even if it's in a bad direction, and even if you know it's a bad, you still cannot stop. And Arjuna asks that in Bhagavad Gita, why is it like that? Why is it like that? And I was also considering, because when I was in my head, of course, on top of the world, just everything was going on, then I had no trouble with that question. But when I wanted to stop something, and I saw I don't have the power. I don't have the power to stop it. Then I started asking. So some trouble with police, that was not so big, so we continued on. But then when I was 18 years old, we were driving in the night, and you know, the ego comes. And that's also one thing you can notice, that you have something that you have a group of people, and you have some desire to stand out, or to be like them, or to stand out. And it's difficult to suppress that desire. It's difficult to be humble, especially with men. You have the desire to show that I also can do it. In any situation you are, if you are a drunkard, you will have a desire, oh, I can drink 20 beers and I can still stand. This was this is the pride of a drunkard. And if you are an entrepreneur, then you can say, you know, like I was listening to this Robbie Williams, this famous self-help guru, and he said very proudly, like, I show people how to get money, but while they get money, I get more money. So I'm always on top. It's not that I'm... So he was like that. So I was into motorcycles, so I can also drive like my friends, you know. But that's not like that, you know. Somebody has talent and somebody is just clumsy. I was the second condition. So one time we were driving in the night, and we were surpassing some cars, and one car turned and I hit it, and I don't remember, but they just told me. So I broke my head, I broke my arms, I broke everything. But when I woke up, the first idea was, you know, how is my bike? Is it you know, is it still solid? And there was 2-3 months of therapy. And then I then I waited for money, which came from that accident, because somehow or other we presented that I'm not to blame. And I got a double-size motorcycle. That one before had 55 horsepower. This one had 100 and something horsepower, and it was very old, like 30 years old, with 100 horsepower. It's not intelligent, but it's not about intelligence. It's about that our nature, when it's not controlled, it just does what it wants. And we are like a passenger in our life. We just sit inside this body and just look, what is he up to, you know? And even this huge accident couldn't make me see that, you know, it's not for you. It's dangerous. You could lose your life. It's a stupid thing. It takes so much money and so much time, but I didn't understand that. And I was driving motorcycles 12 years after that. Had few crashes more, not such so big ones. And then there was a situation in my life. Yes, my sister got into in some religious activities, and with some strange people. And I said, this cannot be like that, you know. Who are those people? What are they doing? And she was with the Krishna consciousness people. And I came with my motorcycle in full leather clothes, you know, from top to bottom. I was in black leather, and with hair to my back, and with a helmet like this. I started wearing a helmet after the accident, that I understood. So I came there, and it was a small temple, 5, 6 people, and I came with a mood, you know, I wasn't aggressive because I'm not that by nature. I was interested just in, is she safe? It's my sister, of course. And then I sat down at the lecture. Lecture was going on. Lecture finished, and the lecturer came to me and said, so, how do you like it? I said, it's okay. Will you come back? I said, never. But I respect you. And then I went away. But then it came one situation in my life where I had some minor substance addiction, because, you know, driving motorcycles, you drink, you smoke, you this and that, and I decided I will stop smoking this marijuana, because, you know, nothing goes on in my life good, you know. I keep postponing things. I keep delegating things. I will do it tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow. I never do it. it has an influence on my brain. And I could understand, I don't want that. And then I said, okay, I'm stopping. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Every time I would get with my friends, I would just continue to do it. And in that situation of really pain, and the pain was not of the drug substance. That's nothing. The biggest pain is the ego pain. This is the biggest pain we experience. One of the biggest pains, that I cannot do something. I cannot control even myself. Because you can imagine what kind of difficult life it is when you see that there are 7 billion people in the world you cannot control. There is the weather you cannot control. But then you see, I myself am also out of my control. And it was a moment of just thinking that I don't want it to be so. I want to make some change. I want to be at least in some control of my actions and my deeds. And in that state of mind, I started reading some books from devotees. They were not directly Prabhupada books. It was books of disciples, of Prabhupada disciples. So books from Krishna consciousness, some smaller books, a little bit smaller than this, the introductions to Bhagavad Gita. And it was amazingly practical because it showed me that it's not my personal problem. I don't have some strange personal problem, but everybody has the same problem in the whole universe, not just on Earth. And that I was intrigued about that. Because all people know that they are weak. The Christians say the spirit is strong, but the body is weak. In other words, I want to do it, but I can't. So everybody knows it. But in Krishna consciousness, it was presented in such a clear way, really pointing out how are we bound, what is our problem, and how to gradually get out of our problem. But then somebody might say, okay, but you will get free from the condition. For example, you will get the power to say no to drugs. But then what will you do next? If you follow these books, then you will become a robot. You will only follow what they say. You will not be yourself. That is, of course, a doubt. That is a fear that you see when approaching spirituality, and it's a legitimate fear because we should be careful in whatever we do. We should do it with intelligence, not just blindly go. Because if you blindly go in, you soon blindly go out, because we do it as a whim. And in that point, I would like to mention what was the topic, self-development, because okay, you can work on yourself, but in what direction you will go? When you are building a house, you can say you are working on a house, but you know what to do. The roof is on top, the walls are here, there are windows. It's clear. But where is it that we should go in life? Because we can do so many things. Life is just a playground, they can say. You can do so many things, but and that's one distinction I wanted to make, because now what is very popular on YouTube, that means in the world, is this self-help books, self-help gurus. It's a whole self-help movement, which actually gives some advices to people, and it directs them to go towards some. It's also a guide in the other way, and I read a lot of these books about this about self-help, because you can see how that industry grows, the industry of self-help. This means on the other side there is a great need. People started to realize that actually our brain is burdened. Our emotions are running wild. Our habits are destroying us. So please guide us in some way. But just please remove God, because we don't like that guy. If you can do it without God some way, we will buy the book. So they said, okay, they are responding to the demand of the market. They took knowledge, which is material, but comes from spiritual books, because there in spiritual books, it's material knowledge used to elevate you, to elevate your consciousness, to bring you closer to yourself. But they removed the purpose, the goal, and just used the power that is in spiritual books. There is great power in spiritual books. You can see the Bible, the Quran, how is it used and misused sometimes, because it has power. It explains actually what is the human being made of, from the outside, the body, but also from the inside, the mind, the intelligence, the ego. All of us can perceive that, but many of us don't know what to do with that. But you can see the power from these books, because they are given from Krishna, from the Creator, from the one who made you. They are given through saintly persons. And the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in that you can see how much power they have, because they speak about the truth. But as any powerful thing, it can be misused. It can be misused. So most of the self-help books actually help you to do whatever you like to do. And it can be a dangerous thing, because as I said, what I like to do is drive motorcycles and let's say do nonsense things. So in that endeavor, and everybody has their nonsense. If you are actually sincere, you can see, you can think about, what is my nonsense? Not everybody has a big like this in Tamogun. Somebody has a nonsense in Rajagun, like for example, overworking, or neglecting your family, or because you go with friends on skiing, or in Sattva Guna maybe neglecting everybody but your own health, and everybody has their own nonsense, and we should think about why we keep up with our nonsense. So if you take a self-help book, it will help you prolong your nonsense activity, because I wanted to drive motorcycles. I wanted to, in the same time, smoke marijuana and do other things. So a self-help book could help me to balance these things. Not too much of this, not too much of that. Just but to continue a long time. That is what self-help books speak about. How to postpone the immediate enjoyment to prolong and get it to last longer. Of course, they have some good knowledge, but it's usually misapplied, misdirected. It's knowledge from spiritual books, from introspective people, just used how to materially enjoy. Because this is what people do. People who are in the mood of exploitation, they see everything as a means of my enjoyment. They even see spiritual life as a means of, how can I exploit this? How can I exploit this book? How can I exploit these people? This is how an uncontrolled mind works. But the only person who is actually suffering is this person who is committing this, who is having that attitude. And also one thing that I remember, which was a big pushing point to me going towards spiritual life, is that I was always afraid. I was even afraid of driving a motorcycle. I was really afraid of driving, but in the same time I couldn't let it go, because I was in that kind of situation. You know, sometimes you are just in that kind of group, They just go to these kind of places. For example, they go to skiing, and you have to go with them because everybody's going. And sometimes you don't even have money, but you take a loan just to be one of the guys. So that's who was I. Fearing, experiencing a lot of fear, but still driving, still driving. And then self-help books can make you deal with that fear, can help you do with your emotions. But then in Krishna consciousness, in Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is actually explained that a person who doesn't have yoga, who doesn't have connection with Krishna, he is always afraid. Not just that he is afraid, but he is not acting from a self-interest, a good self-interest. He is acting from fear. He is acting from fear. So actually when you go a little bit deeper and understand yourself, you will see how many activities a person does out of fear. And now when you hear that, it's very strange, because people can say, I'm not afraid. What can I be afraid of? You know, it's Zurich. You know, there's no war here. There's nothing. We are completely surrounded and protected. But it is explained that we as a person are first of all not so perfect as we think we are. Our judgment of where we should go, what should we do, is often imperfect. We have, it says, imperfect senses, and we are bound to make mistakes, and we are often proud, and we don't want to admit that, oh sorry, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? And also we can perceive that so many things are out of our control. Even will we keep a job? It's out of our control. We can lose it like this. Can a war start? It can. So it's out of our control. Can some sun move for one small amount to the left and then we get burned here? It can do it. So it's out of our control. So many things are out of our control. And then even if we have money and everything is going on so nicely, but we are going to die. We see everybody's dying. We see our neighbors are dying. We see now people are dying even 50 years old, often. In Corona, so many people died young. So even if we ignore as much as we want that, the fear is in us. It is deep in ourselves. And then it pushes us to do what? To exploit. To say, you know, time is running out. I have to take. I have to do. I have to use. This new secretary is looking at me nicely. I have to take. Because there's no other time. I have to do it. Or exploit a co-worker. Do so many nonsense things. But then you build problems in your life. But you cannot stop it, because fear is a very strong emotion. So in Bhagavad Gita it is explained that the fear comes from not seeing the Lord and His benevolence, His love in everything that happens. In everything that happens. Not seeing that He is the Supreme Controller. Dvitiya Binivesha, it's the verses start, but I don't remember it by heart. It explains Bhayam, how this fear actually comes. Because where there's fear, love cannot be there. It's not possible. Because you even can marry out of fear. You even can make children out of fear. So many things you can do from a wrong intention. And then after you understand how I did it wrong, you can even choose a job, and that is what almost always happens with almost all my friends that I know, that they don't want to change a job out of fear. They have a bad job. The guy is just like not a good person, and you don't feel good at that job, but you think, you know, what if I cannot find another job? This is the influence of an uncontrolled mind. There are so many jobs in this world. So nobody wants to work. Who wants to work? Everybody wants to just lay down and eat. So this means so many jobs are there. You can think logically, but you can't. You can't if you are fearful. You can't. You think stupid things. There's no job. This guy is exploiting me. But what can I do? Sometimes he just grabs me from behind. But what to do? You know, I'm a woman. So what? You know, it happens like this. This is not exaggeration. It happens like this. So many other things happen. But we tolerate. Why? Because we are covered. We are influenced by so many things. So we should see that. And from that point of view, from that point of realization, that we actually are not so perfect as we thought, we can approach spiritual life. That means knowledge. Because first, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, what is knowledge? The first thing is knowledge, is a little bit humbleness, a little humility. That maybe I don't know everything perfectly. Maybe. You don't have to be certain of that, but you just make an assumption. Maybe I don't know everything. And then with that attitude, approach Bhagavad Gita. And for me, the experience was that many times I read it, and most of it I didn't understand. But because it's transcendental knowledge, and which means it's not, it doesn't have an influence like these ordinary things we see around us. Like, for example, this cushion, or let's say a normal book. A normal book. You have to read it, you have to learn the things from it, and then you have to know how to repeat it. That is how actually the impact comes from that book. But Bhagavad Gita is an amazing book, because it's knowledge which comes from above, directly from God. It changes our life even by just reading it. It has an influence on that. It is a transcendental sound vibration. And the same is the answer, why do you chant? It's the same thing. It's a sound that purifies us. And by purification, I mean the nonsense a little bit falls away. Because why did I mention that self-help is usually not good? Because they actually don't know what is the self. They presume that the self is whatever I want to be, whatever I think about, whatever I have a desire to, that is the self. But actually, our consciousness has a lot of influence in it. So many things we carry around. And the person who is a little bit sober can see that most of the things that I like for example, how I dressed, what I choose to dress before, I could see it's all from Beverly Hills. You know Beverly Hills? That was a show in the 90s. You know, they showed you how you should dress, how you should love. They showed you should exchange a little bit girls, because you know it's fun. They showed you what hairdress to wear. They showed you what is friendship. Not just them, of course, your surroundings where you grew up, the other TV shows, your parents and their fears. They gave it to you very great. They gave you also knowledge, but they gave you also their fears. If you think about it, you will see it's true. So all of that, without actually being aware of, is influencing our life. All of these things. So spiritual life, in the beginning, starts by association with people who are on the path, by reading spiritual books, by trying to elevate our taste, you know, because as I said, I was driving motorcycles and drinking alcohol, but after I just a little bit understood these books, even in my dreams, I don't have a desire for that. And I was doing this for 15 years, every day, all day, really intensely. I'm that kind of person, what to do. And I don't even in my dreams have a desire. So who am I? Was I that person who liked to drive motorcycles and drink alcohol? Or am I this person now? The point is that we are always who we are. We are always individual person. But we have habits and we have some desires which stick to us by association. By association. And by getting spiritual knowledge, by having the right association and by having the right practice, we get immunity. Immunity from these influences. And little by little, we don't accumulate new influences. In other sense, we recognize nonsense when we hear it. And we also are able to control our lower propensities, our lower desires, and develop higher desires. They're objectively higher desires. Like in some places there is only potato and cabbage. And what can you make? You can make puree and cabbage, and can you make puree cabbage, and you make a salad out of cabbage with potatoes on the side. The situation is very limited, you know. But you are there, and what to do? You know, you have some taste, and then there is like a red potato, there is a white potato, there is a young potato, there is a fried potato. You get inside your knowledge of what is there. You try to find yourself. So if you expand, if you hear about tomatoes and pasta, and then there is butter and flour, and you make bechamel, then you make lasagna, or you make something like that, then you expand. You expand. And same is with spiritual knowledge. You get a taste for activities which are actually beneficial to you. It is not that you have to do it. It is not that you, like for example, I don't know, we shower a couple of times a day. When I was driving motorcycles, I will not tell you how many times I showered. It is less than 2 times a day. But it's an objective good thing to shower 2 times a day. It's beneficial for you to stop drinking, stop smoking. So this life becomes so natural to you because you can experience that it's giving a benefit in your life. And even if it has some details, like you don't eat eggs, and you say, how much no eggs? Eggs are from a chicken, it's not a meat. So many things we can discuss for days. But then you accept some of these details because maybe you don't understand it. But after some little time of practicing it, you will see why. You will see why. Nobody can explain to you in a second some things which you don't have the capacity to understand. Like for example, I just recently found out that one of my friends, he's a PhD in physics. So if he tries to explain to me his recent realization, his topmost knowledge, I don't have the brains, I don't have the capacity to understand that. It's not possible for me. Not possible. I have to go through these first few motions to be able to understand it. You understand that? If you cannot understand PhD knowledge if you are not even, you don't know mathematics, basic mathematics. It's not possible. So sometimes in spiritual life some things can be a little bit vague, but by practicing spiritual life, and this is why it's attractive to me, especially in the Bhagavad Gita, because it explains so much in such a relevant way why and how you should experience the things that all religions say. You are a soul, there is God, and you have a relationship with Him. But in Bhagavad Gita it's explained that Krishna, which means all attractive, it's an epithet of God, also a name of God, has a relationship with every soul. We are always individual, and have a relationship with Him which is a relationship of reciprocal love, a love that goes both ways. And even it explains what is the nature of that love in so many details. And it explains how it's not something that one time when you die and then you fly somewhere and then you will, it's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. Real spiritual path, first of all, you should know, you should speak about love of God. Love of God includes love of also all other beings, because they are all sons of God. And it should explain in a way that you can understand it, and by practicing it, you should experience a higher taste. You should experience something that it doesn't become a requirement to throw all of the nonsense from your life. Like if you are a drug addict, or if you are, let's say, a gambler, or if you are a thief, you don't have to stop with that. You just lose taste for that. It just comes natural. The bad things in life, you don't have to push yourselves from them. It just becomes, I cannot even sit there and do that. I remember we were playing video games of driving cars. We also got like a steering wheel and pedals and a small room with a PlayStation 4. And we were 30 years old. 30 years old, you know, you should be worried if you are doing this at 30 years old, you know. You should be very worried. and we were just driving like to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And after some time, because I was periodically going to this place, I couldn't make myself sit there, you know. Just couldn't make myself, I didn't have an aversion to that. I knew it's fun, it's la la la. But I couldn't sit there. It was just like, my friend who said, "You want to have a go?" I said, I cannot, you know, just cannot. So it comes like that. We shouldn't be afraid of spiritual life. We should be afraid of not having our spiritual practice, because it brings out a fearful state. And you will know the real spiritual life when you practice it and you feel, yes, it actually comes, maybe not everything at once naturally, but by being more, it becomes really a thing that suits you. All other things are like smoking. Smoking is a bad example. It's a gross example, but all other things are like that. First cigar is always horrible, but after few times, and if you are with acharyas, with very mahajans who know how to explain to you how to smoke, then after some time you cannot stop smoking. But how is it possible that in the beginning it was horrible? How is it possible? So a human being can get used to any condition, anything in life. So many nonsense we get used to. But if we get exposed to positive things, then we will see, because out of smoking comes cancer and so many other problems, which are perceivable. You smoke, you smell like an ashtray. You smell. It's very perceivable. But when you practice spiritual life, you also get reactions, but they are very perceivably positive, good, life-changing, mind-expanding, relationship-building, because they are built through the relationship of God. And then it changes through the way you look at the world. Before, it was always just exploitation, even for friends or a wife or anything in your life was just, what can I get from it? And because of that, the connection was not proper there. Because if you look at a woman or look at even a job, even an impersonal thing like a job or a personal thing like a woman, if you look at it, what can I get from that being or that job? The connection will not be solid. And it's logical, even with the job. You know, if you only think about yourself, you will not think about the company, and the company will go down. You should think about the company, and then it will come back to you. Same is with relationship. If you want to have a relationship with somebody, he is first, you are second. And then by that, you become first in his eye, even if you are not first. Still. So, this is how you start looking at the world. Not what could I get from it, but you see yourself as a loving instrument of God, and then you can act for His pleasure and the pleasure of all living beings. You can act for other people's pleasure. And that's how you actually experience even love. How do you experience love? Not by asking somebody to love you, but by loving somebody. That's how you experience love. Then love is in your control. You are giving. You are being a loving person. Not always asking somebody, oh, can you please? Then it's outside of you. It's very, again, fearful state. Will somebody love me? No, you become an instrument of love. But love is also a word that can be explained in so many nonsense ways. That's why in spiritual life, love is explained in a substantial way. What is lasting love? How it manifests. And how this is what we are. We are not beings which are made of fear and of putting our hands in other people's pockets. We are beings of love and giving to others what actually they need. And it also explains, because you can be giving to others so many things. You can think somebody is thirsty, let's give him a beer. 90% of the people in the world think like that. But this is not the interest of that other person. This is your interest, because you like beer and you want to give it to him. So this is not seva, this is not service. You have to learn what is the need of a person. Then you can serve him. And then in spiritual life, that's also explained. And then you are protected, because you know what you are doing, you know where you are going, and there is no fear, but there is a possibility of development of love, which is not love with some impersonal being, vague. No. It is something that you can experience in association with people who are on the same path, and that yoga, that connection is something that, as it is explained in the 9th chapter, pratyakshavarga mam dharmyam, you can see it by yourself. It will be like food. When you eat food, nobody has to convince you are full. You just know it. How do you know it? I just know it. It's coming out of me. It's going out. That's how, when we have a true connection with Krishna, then it goes out from us. There's no need of being convinced. Okay, so I went a little bit far, so I will stop here. I actually wanted to have more of a conversation, but yes, if you like to ask some question or suggestion or some you want to share something, please be invited to do so. Okay, maybe this lady was here. Okay. Okay.
Харе Кришна, большое спасибо за такую познавательную лекцию. Я вам очень благодарен. Как вроде бы вся жизнь стала передо мной. Не слышали, да? Это самое. Ну, вообще-то, чтобы отмыться нам от материального сознания, нужно просто часами воспевать святые имена, собираться и петь часами. Только оно отмоет наше сознание настоящее, сознание Кришны. Да, собираться, петь и петь, часами петь. Харе Кришна.
So thank you, I understood. Thank you. Prabhu said that he was going a little bit into the practice. What is the practice? And this is the chanting of the holy names. Actually, all spiritual paths have this practice to chant the names of God. The names of God are not like my name is Ivan, so I can change my name in the post in that office. Where is the office? You can change your name and make something else. I can put some other name. I could be called BMW, for example, or something like that. I can do whatever I want. But the names of God are given to us through saintly persons, and because they are on the same level, they are not different from God. So through the name of the Lord, we get in contact with Him. The name of the Lord is so merciful that it even allows us to get in contact with the Lord from our position now. One of the words Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in these books is sublime. There is a process in chemistry which is called sublimation. It is a process in which ice goes to vapor without going through water. You understand? Ice goes to vapor without passing through water. It's called sublimation. This means ice, our icy heart, our conditioning, our desires to so many things. From that position, by chanting the names of the Lord without offenses, we can come in contact with the Lord, and we can experience it through purification, through just through an awareness, through a perceivable change in our consciousness, just by chanting the names of the Lord. So this is the main process for achieving what I spoke about in this day and age. To change the names of Lord. And it could look simplistic for a complicated mind. You know, we are all computer people. If I gave you 10 pages of instructions, you could see, yes, I have a big problem, so there are 10 pages of instructions. Okay, this is logical. I can do it, I will take it. But if I tell you, just chant the names of the Lord, maybe you will not believe me in the beginning. You will think it's too simple. I need something complicated. Because if it was so simple, I would solve it myself. But all the scriptures from the world speak about that in this day and age, the chanting of the holy name is the main process. And all around, we make other things to facilitate that chanting. So yes, what Prabhu said is the truth. Just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can... sorry, maybe some people who just came and also the time is up. Yeah. Dva slova.
It's okay.
Two letters are Ha, Re. Okay. It's very dangerous to ask me a question because I cannot stop after. The program goes completely,
Sorry for being the Spielverderber, how you say? Yeah. But we try to follow the time a little bit because we have a program. Thank you, Caitanya Nitai Prabhu, for the class. I'm sure all of you are inspired to take up this wonderful process of self-development, Krishna consciousness, as we can find it in the books of Srila Prabhupada. So now you are all invited to take prasadam outside. And at 6:15 we're going to have a japa meditation in the temple room also, led by Caitanya Nitai Prabhu. Yeah. So if you like to learn how to chant on prayer beats, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, please come. So you can do it at home after.
What is the time? 6:15?
6:15, yeah. And 7 o'clock there will be the Gora Arati in here, our traditional ceremony, worshipping the deities. And then 8 o'clock we're going to have more kirtan till 9:30. Thank you for coming. It's wonderful to see you all, and have a good Sunday program ahead. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.